Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast. I do apologise about the late start. William Ross had technical issues, but we're here now, and we're ready to rock. How are you both?
You're a fucking sausage banger.
Aye, wasn't he? I was like, it was definitely you. But apart from that, I'm good, mate. Thanks.
I
Good
wish we
man. What about
actually
yourself,
went
Willie?
live. We should have went live to just see you for the last 10 minutes, going off your nut
Oh,
and blaming everybody when it was actually
It
yourself.
was-
You sounded like
Tony got it.
Aye, Tony got it
He
rotten
got it
last week. It's
stinking
not your fault.
another week. It was all you.
I still maintain that echo was not me, and it couldn't be me. There's no way it could have been. Top of the range equipment here, folks. Top of the range. That's never ever going to happen. But I do want to say, obviously, Willie's going to be doing the comments tonight. Big cheers to everyone who's joining us here on Friday night. I'm back on the beer again. It feels like a long time since I said that, but good to have a drink with the lads again. And I think, to be honest, boys, there's only one place to get stuck into. I mean, International Football Week for some, maybe not likes of William Ross, is a bit drab, a bit boring. I know Scotland had a magnificent result against Norway. It was good to see some former Celtic teammates getting together and talking at the end of the game. I thought that was a nice picture to put on. But in regards to the Celtic AGM, Ross, that a bombshell during the week, as there always is with Celtic Football Club at the moment. Before we get into the actual nitty-gritty and details and things like that, I've seen a lot of fallout online about the AGM, a lot of, how would you say it, people pointing the finger again, saying keep your eye on the board, all this type of stuff, which again is totally understandable. I'm probably one of them people who would say that, but that's the general feeling. As I said before we get into the main talking points, how did you come away thinking and going forward with this Celtic PLC board in charge?
Well, I've only really seen obviously the stuff that's been put on YouTube. The like interviews, which obviously wasn't the actual AGM, but it must be quite similar, obviously. And the YouTube one, they're no faced with questions of shareholders and stuff like that. But everything that was said is it's more or less what I expected. It's sort of like media trained, like how the players answer questions after games and stuff. It's robotic. It's just the things that you're supposed to hear or they want you to hear. It's never, but you're never going to get the full truth, the transparency. Listen, I'm not going to sit here like some folk and pretend that I've been a CEO or a chairman or I know how to run a fucking football club.
You do run a business.
But no, I'm never having a pound at a time. Folks sitting there behind their screens and they go, they should be doing this, should be doing that. What do they not do that for? Shut fucking up. You've never been a chairman before. You don't know nothing about it. Listen, all I want is transparency. Like you hear like people talking about the transfer activity and we should be spending more, we've got this in the bank, all that, etc. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I would like the board to, if they're, well, they haven't spent big, right? So I would like them to come out in an AGM or in the interviews and tell us why they haven't spent that money, rather than, but right, okay, I know we're getting into it, but okay, they've said like, we're obviously going to be spending money in Barrafield, we're going to be adding to Lennoxtown, so that takes part of the money. Of course it does, but there's still more money out with that. Why is that not being spent, right? If they came out and give us a good reason and put all the uncertainty to bed, I'd be quite happy. Whether that's like they're spending the money or they're going to spend the money or they're not spending the money, right? As long as we know, and that's my issue. The rest of it, I'm not in a position to judge these guys. They're far more educated and more knowledgeable than me. And Peter Law has been and away and back, and people can take umbrage at that. That's fair enough. I get it. It doesn't sit great with me that he came in and they said that he was an executive chairman. Is that right? Aye, executive chairman.
Non-executive chairman. Well,
non-executive. Aye, sorry, aye. So, listen, it doesn't sit right with me that now all of a sudden he's a chairman, right?
Mm-hmm.
When did that happen? Why have we not been told that? Listen, again, I'll say it. I'm not going to sit here and judge, but I would like a bit more transparency to put all the negativity, all the toing and froing between the fans, because nobody really knows. There's people think they know, but they don't know, and it's all guesswork. And it sort of puts a bit of like a fracture between some of the fans and stuff like that. Obviously, we'll go into other stuff with fractures with fans as well, but just
Your favourite
transparency.
topic?
Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, just transparency. That's all I want.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like I do agree with you in a sense that we do need that board to be held accountable, Willie, transparency in all issues, and you know where you kind of stand within the football club, and as Ross rightly said, the finances and all that type of thing, which we're going to come on to. But just like what Ross was saying there, I mean, as I said, the fallout to me, there's been a lot. I mean, obviously, people's making a big deal out of Peter Lawwell coming back and things like that, and just things are being said. It's like, whoa, taking you back to when we were getting beat 2-0 by Ross County and there was a protest outside and the banners and things like that. But from yourself, a general feeling towards the AGM, and to be fair, it's probably all lip service, but it's one of these events that has to be incorporated by a company now, especially being floated on the stock exchange, stakeholders, shareholders, etc. But how did you feel about
it? By the way, my connections jumped out a couple of times there, so if I go off, tell me. And I missed the wee middle bit there, but I got the gist. Just what I expected, to be honest with you. I'm glad it came to the fruition about what some money was going on, because as I expected, you post profits, but as Ross will tell you, he sells his business, and anybody, any working man out there and women, and like you get your wage slip and it'll say you've made £4,000, for example. That's what you've made, just like what Celtic have. But then tax comes in, you take that off, then you take whatever else off, and then my mortgage has to come off. So that figure, and when I seen that on YouTube, I was interested to hear that, and I'm glad that came out, because it's not just a matter of this is our profits, 120 million, so we've got 120 million to spend on players. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I think Willie's connection. Yeah, well, you're there. I thought you were going to keep going there, but I mean, no. I get what you're saying. Obviously, the money issue is going to be one that divides the fans, Green Brigade issue, and things like that. But first, I want to jump back into what Ross was saying, Willie, about Peter Lawwell, front and face again. Non-executive director, he came in as that he was told he has no control or no authority within the boardroom. They've quietly slipped the chairman title into his name, and everyone calls him chairman, Peter Lawwell. And I mean, if we're all not naive enough to believe that he came in there and sat down and just smoked the pipe and let people get on with it, he had an iron fist in his first tenure at Celtic. And people, but I mean, to be fair, like whether people like or not, he had a great financial track record for Celtic. He's in the ECA, he works with UEFA and things like that. Obviously, the other negative kind of thing that he gets involved too much in player transfers. Him and Brendan broke down in Brendan's first spell. I suppose people have anxiety in case that happens again, especially as it looks, Willie. He has a major say in what goes on, and he was the first interview that Celtic posted out on their YouTube channel. He basically chaired the entire AGM, and it seems like Peter Lawwell he's back full of force again.
Seems to be that way, mate. I can understand why people get annoyed or frustrated, but I'm not the best to come to about this stuff, to be fair, because I just want to see Kyle go banging hat tricks in every week. I don't really give a fuck who's on top or who's dealing with all that stuff, as long as we are successful, which we have been in previous years. And I mean, there was a lot of promises in these interviews about backing Brendan and stuff, so it remains to be seen. But for me, I don't like getting held back by these sort of things about what's going on. There's others that are like the likes of yourself and Tony and that, they're probably better versed in talking about these people in these positions, but I don't know many even of their names, to be honest with you. But I thought it was interesting to hear what they were saying about the books, and like Ross said, they're the experts, no me. I sit on my couch and watch the telly, and I just want to see them. But they're more versed than me to discuss all the goings on. I'm no expert, so.
But at the end of the day, like, you're allowed to question what goes on within the clubs. You know what I mean? I know you said, "Or you want to watch Kyogo?" We all want to watch Kyogo, Ross, and I'm looking at it from my point of view. You did say it, that he came in as non-executive chairman. He's been quietly slipped in as chairman again. And as I said to Willie there, he's front and face in all the meetings. He's doing interviews with Jerry McCulloch on Celtic TV. He's talking about investment. He's talking about Barrowfield, all these future plans, the ECA, the different changes in the Champions League. And like what Willie said as well, look, I'm not going to proclaim that I know everything about Celtic's boardroom. I don't. But I've got my own kind of opinion on it. I think from my point of view, having Peter Lawwell back is absolutely, it shouldn't be happening. If I'm honest, strange old the doctor having endured the AGM. My thoughts are simple. Feeling towards the board, her best summed up by Goya's painting. No idea what that means, but you probably do. But I think having Peter Lawwell back, Ross, is great. Obviously, he retired the first time. He didn't want to continue. He came back in as non-exec and he's moved up to chairman. I just think having him around the club again, especially with Brendan there, for him, for Rodgers, I mean, like sitting there just being like, he's the reason basically I left in the first place because I wasn't getting back in the transfer market. All that contract terminado, Marion Sved, we've got too many wingers. We all know Peter Lawwell was heavily involved in transfers back then. So where do you stand on it? Do you believe he's staying away from the football issues, or do you think he has the tendency to dip back into that again?
Well, he's certainly in a different role by name. You said there, obviously, he was partly the reason that Brendan Rodgers left the last time, but he was in situ before Brendan Rodgers came back, so you could caveat that and say, well, he's part of the reason he's back. Aye. But listen, I said it there. Him coming back and them telling us that he was a non-executive chairman, and then we have this AGM, and I think the AGM sort of confirmed without it confirming what we all knew anyway, is that he is actually more involved than what they let on when he first came back. And I can understand why they done it that way, when he came back, because the way he left, at the time he left, there was so much unrest and people just wanted him out off the back of the 10 season and stuff like that. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't like to make a judgment as to what his role is within the club, whether he... Listen, I don't even know if he got involved in football matters the last time around. It's all speculation.
I think it's pretty well known.
Well, it's still speculation. It's nobody's privy to it apart from the guys that are in the walls and the corridors of Parkhead. But I mean, from the outside looking in, it certainly did look like that. I'm not arguing that, but we don't know for sure. But I really don't know what his role is right now. But he certainly chaired that meeting, as you said, and he's going to have a big say on certainly off-field goings on, and I've not got any issue with that because he's been in 20 odd years at Celtic, and for all the world we'll go to we've not done enough in the Champions League and all the rest of it, and I can understand that. He's overseen a really successful period, and he's got the club in probably our strongest position in many, many years. So that, like most things in life, there's pros and cons that go with whatever. Do you know what I mean? And Peter Lawwell isn't perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Willie isn't perfect. Nobody's perfect.
My audio certainly isn't perfect.
I know. Listen, I really don't know. What I will say is, though, the way that he was brought in again as non-executive, it was sort of pulling the wool over the fans' eyes, and that goes back to that transparency that I was asking for earlier in the podcast there. There needs to be more of that. Brendan Rodgers has tried to bring more of it, and I think that's more for himself, obviously, because as we've spoke numerous times, how he left and how he's come back. He wants to sort of endear himself to the fans again. So there's certainly been more transparency for him to a level, to a point. But that's all I want. I'm not going to I'll go back to it. I'll probably go back to it numerous times in this podcast. I'm not going to sit here and judge the guys and tell them how to do their job because I don't know how to do their job. But I get what
But
you're
is that
saying,
not
Stephen.
what
We're allowed.
is that not what they want you like? So Willie said he's the expert. You're saying you don't know how to do the job, which pretty much is, I don't know. Is it you saying you're not going to question what they're doing, or you're not going to be
No,
like, why are
well,
they doing this?
that's what I was just saying. I say I understand that you are allowed to question it, but I'm no. I don't feel like me personally. I'm not speaking for everybody because there's guys that are Celtic supporters who are far more educated and far better position to question these things than what I'm at. I'm just speaking from a personal point of view. And listen, there is things that I will be able to question because I've got enough of a bit of knowledge about it. But for the most part, on these things, I'm like Willie. You know it yourself. Me and Willie, we and I know everybody, all Celtic supporters like the football, but a lot of Celtic supporters like yourself, like John, like Anthony, get more involved in the sort of board side of things. I'm a football guy, inside and out, back to front, however you want to put it. I just love football, and all like it's the same. Like at the top, I don't take too much of an interest. I have took a bit more of an interest since we've been doing this podcast, but still not a great deal. And it's the same at the lower level in terms of, and this is just me. It might be wrong, but looking at the reserves and all that, I don't take much notice in that. If they come into the team, into the main team, and they do the job, I'm happy. There's people doing the job to bring these guys up. There's people doing the job at the top. I'm bothered about the bit in the middle and the trophies and the success on the park.
Well, yeah, no, I get that. Do you know what I mean? But my issue would be, you mentioned the word transparency, and I think there's a lot of the Celtic fan base, whether you're into it or you're not, Willie, that are questioning the tenure of some of these chief executives, these shareholders, the directors. I mean, I think the newest one there is Michael Nicholson, and he's been there since basically 2010, I believe. You got Chris Mackay's been there. All these directors have been in situ for years and years and years. What people I think, are trying to say, there's no new voice in that boardroom. It's the same old, same old. And you've seen by the resolutions of everyone being voted back in, it was all above 90% because there's no one challenging these certain individuals to even do better or be better, in my opinion. So, look, I know you don't really like the boardroom that much, don't take an interest, but that's the kind of final point in this. Is it a concern that the tenure of the directors there, Willie, that maybe there isn't any fresh ideas pushing us forward to be that world-class football club that Michael Nicholson and Peter Lawwell were talking about?
I can see the arguments in both cases, but for me, we're in as strong as we ever have as a club, financially and on the pitch domestically. I know in Europe we need to be improving, but financially, domestically, we're in as good a place as we ever have been, and that's credit to these guys. Oh, see, I don't like saying shit like this. This is why I don't like talking about the board, because everybody calls me Wally Lawwell and all that. And when I was sitting watching Peter Lawwell's interview, and again, it's I said it when I was messaging you guys, it's Celtic TV, so whatever questions the fans may want to ask, or anybody associated with the club wants to ask, that can be a challenging question, is not going to get asked on that. But everything he was saying, I was like, oh my God, this is everything I've been saying in the podcast for about 6 months. With the fact that, like, he's talking about how the Champions League is getting harder and harder because of the financial.
That's an excuse.
No, it's not.
It's not.
I'm not getting into this again, man. Yeah, for me, we're in a really, really strong position at the moment, and it's down to these guys. So you could argue that the longevity is a good thing because where the club is at the moment in time. When I was a boy, we were nearly fucking out of business, like the team across the city, and we're nowhere near that now. And all you hear about Sevco every other day, and the news is that they're going to go under again in the financial problems. And we've not got any of that. So I think we need to be thankful for that as well. On the pitch in Europe, yeah, I totally agree. And I said that, I've always said this about signings and what we need to do. And like, of course I would, if we could go out and sign Mbappe, I would love it. But that's just not the position we're in. So for me, I've not got major issues that I feel need questioned. I feel like we're moving in the right direction. We've got yet another world-class manager at the helm. The reconstruction of like Lennoxtown and Barrowfield looks impeccable. They're talking about the stadium. These are all things that you're talking about. This whole world-class club. They're all aspects of that, and that Celtic are moving forward in that case. So for me, I took it really positively, but I'm fucking Willie Lowell, so what do I know?
But mate, people are allowed different. You're allowed to take different takes on things. You know what I mean? It's just because I think it might be negative doesn't mean anyone has to take that road with me. You find a positive. You mentioned Barrowfield, Lennoxtown. You know what I'm like about training grounds. Like I like seeing training grounds being improved and facilitate with the best facilities. And you're right, the world class kind of ethic that goes hand in hand. And look, I do agree with you in some aspects of what you're saying. I know European football is a totally different thing, which we'll probably come on to again next time Celtic play in the Champions League. But go ahead, Ron. Sorry, mate, you were about to say something.
I was just going to come off the back of Willie talking about Barrowfield and that. Listen, that's great what they're going to do with Barrowfield. Obviously, you see the sort of the graphic of what it might look like or what it should look like, and it looks great. And you hear them saying, obviously, you've got the stadium, and the stadium's the backdrop of Barrowfield, and seeing that stadium when you're out training as a youth, looking at that and going, that spurs you on to be there. It's all well and good having these nice facilities, nice surfaces, nice changing rooms. But see if the youth setup is like what it is now, it's not a proper reserve league or whatever, however it's set up now, it's no right. What is it like they're playing in the lower
Lowland
leagues
League?
and they're playing against Hatchet men, Lowland League, that's it. If you're playing in that, even if we do like sort of bring on some good youngsters, they're going to look at that at 16, 17, 18 like others have, like Leo Hilda has, other guys. I think there was a guy went to Bayern Munich. You've obviously Ben Doak went away to Liverpool. If that is still the same setup, we've spruced up Barrowfield to basically bring on youngsters to sell them on to other teams because our sort of youth setup league formation is all wrong, and they don't want to be a part of that. They can't progress. It's okay having the good facilities, but if you can't progress in the actual match games, they're going to move on, and you've just spruced it up to basically bring these guys on to sell them on to other clubs, and we don't get the benefit of them in the first team.
You spunked about £24 million on it, as you said, and you're not even going to get a couple of million back. Go ahead.
Can I just jump in here? So Strangelove's put a thing up here, and he says, we're the best run club in Scotland. We have the best team, stadium, fans on board. Can we do even better going forward? Fuck yes. I absolutely 100% agree with that, and that's why I say if people want to question, and then it comes at the AGM, that's fine. If I'm pretty sure there's Man City fans out there that have just won a treble and they're minted and they've got some of the best players in the world, they'll still think they can improve and be better. I totally agree with that. There's always going to be better. So there's going to be that. Doesn't matter if we're winning Champions Leagues and there's AGMs. People are going to be complaining about what we're going to do next and it's going to be better. And that's totally fine. But from my point of view, I think we're in a really strong position and I'm quite happy with how things are going at Celtic Park, barring European football. But saying that, I can understand why we're not as successful there.
Totally agree with that.
No, I get that 100%. We're going to come on to the money side of things shortly, but I want to start with the other thing, Ross, has been burning a hole in people's minds. It's been the saga that's happened now for the last possibly 5-6 weeks, and that's the Green Brigade against the board. And that was addressed, I think, by a fan in one of the first questions when it was put to the floor. Someone apparently shouted, ban them for good. And then a couple of boos and things were happening. Peter Lowell apparently said, pipe down or leave. And that, so kind of got a bit kind of, heated in regards to the debate around the Green Brigade, which it does among the support anyway. Obviously, the board are looking at this from an aspect, Ross, of pyrotechnics, incidents against Hibs, Atletico Madrid, and all that. And then on the day of the AGM, the BBC put out a fantastically worded article blaming it on the Palestine issue and things of that nature. Then the Green Brigade, I think, retaliated again with another statement saying that the board are still making claims that aren't true, and they've been waiting on a meeting with Michael Nicholson since the summer. And then they've said the plan of action, which is going to happen tomorrow. They're going to welcome the team in the Celtic way for the team bus arriving. So, look, this is a long-going issue at the moment. I kind of know your opinion, but after hearing what the board and stuff said, and the Green Brigade again with another retaliation statement, is it ever going to end? Can we see them back in the stadium this season? Me personally, I want them back in as soon as possible. Obviously, a resolution has to be in place, compromising both sides. But where do you stand on it?
Well, first of all, do you think after releasing that statement, what's that, Willie?
I said strap in, get that fucking seatbelt in.
No, first of all, do you think they're releasing that statement about the day of action that they'll get near the Celtic way? Because I think
I do. I
know
get. No, I know get there.
Well, listen, that's all well and good. If they want to do that, that's fine. That's their prerogative. My thing is right now. I'll concede it's ill timing with the Palestinian flags. They sort of coincide with that they've now decided Celtic now is the time to take action and ban them, kind of thing, because it gives them something to sort of beat the club with, and that it's just about the Palestinian flags. I think for me, if you've got any shred of common sense, it isn't just about the Palestinian flags. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't want to get too much into obviously what's happening in Palestine, but I hear people saying, well, how, like, they allowed the Ukrainian flag to be flown. Why is it any different with the Palestinian flag? I think there's various different reasons as to why there's huge differences for allowing the Ukrainian flag and the Palestinian flag. Celtic want to maybe distance themselves from. Listen, I don't think Celtic are, but they would. Some people might think that Celtic, like, showing support to Palestine, is them sort of condoning mass genocide, and now it's on both sides. But I just think the club want to distance themselves from that. But moving away from that, I just think that Celtic have took action now. It's been well overdue years overdue in my opinion, because the Green Brigade, for all, I've said it before, everybody knows it, for all the noise, the colour, the atmosphere that they bring, you can't continually keep coming to a stadium and or stadiums, and just because you sing and you create atmosphere, it doesn't give you like credence to just break rules and do what you want. Like, there's rules there for a reason. Everybody else goes to the football, and adheres to them, and they're not banned. But the Green Brigade continually, whether it's small fines or big fines or whatever, they continually do it, and it's come to a head now. And for me, I find it laughable that not only the Green Brigade themselves, but a big portion of the fan base think that the Green Brigade are sort of in a position of strength to sort of negotiate, if you like, with the club on the terms of what's happened and why they've been banned. The Green Brigade have misbehaved, and they've eventually, well overdue of being banned, right? They are in no position to negotiate with the club. The club decide who can and cannot come into the stadium, and they've decided that the Green Brigade can't for the behaviour, right? So the position, the stance for me is, right, you'll get all your access again, you'll get all your special dispensation, graffiti in the hangway, bringing, getting into do your tifos and stuff like that, getting a space provided by the club to make your tifos, all the stuff that you've had. But don't do this because we'll get fined. Don't bring pyrotechnics in because it's not allowed. Like, the Green Brigade aren't in a position of strength here. These are the things we don't want you to do because we'll get sanctioned for it. If you agree to that, you get all the other sort of perks that came with you being the Green Brigade and coming into the stadium. If you don't do that, then you're not getting back. It's as simple as that. There's no negotiation. That is, if you do that, you're back in. If you don't, it's done. It's over. And the people keep hearing, oh, it's like a library and all that. Fair enough, it maybe is now, like a library, right? But you have to give a period adjustment. For over 10 years now, Celtic fans around the full stadium, guys who have been there, and that, I went for a period of the Green Brigade. I've not got my season ticket anymore. But people, they get to a point where it's normal. It's so going to the stadium, the Green Brigade being there and starting the atmosphere, creating atmosphere and singing the whole match is just the norm. So you follow suit and you go with what the Green Brigade are singing. Before that, it was the jungle. Before that, it was like the Celtic end or something. But there's cycles, and this cycle has been the Green Brigade. But if the Green Brigade are no more and they're no back in the stadium, it might take a period of adjusting. But eventually there'll be another group or another section where they take it upon themselves. I mean, while the Green Brigade was in situ, another group already took it upon themselves, albeit their songs are pretty shit for the most part. But the boys took on the other side of the stadium, and they formed a group. Maybe another group in time will form, and they'll start the songs. I'm not expecting guys, even like myself, if I was going to the games, I wouldn't start like singing because it's just me and a couple of mates. But there'll be an area again where the atmosphere will be created. Celtic, the fans feed off the team, not the other way about, and Celtic will be fine and they'll win games, and the stadium will eventually pick up and it'll be a good atmosphere again. It might not be as good an atmosphere at the times in the jungle and that, because football has changed. The people who go to the game, it's like families and like small groups of friends. Now, also, you've got obviously the guys like the Green Brigade, but it's more mixed now. So the stadium's never going to be as boisterous as it once was. And I can see the Green Brigade definitely do add to it, and they definitely do. And for me, if they do what the club ask and don't do that, don't can stand and block whatever it is and rush doors and all the rest of it. If they don't do all the things, okay, I'm not a lover of the Green Brigade. But if they do all the things that don't get the club sanctioned and they create the atmosphere, that's fine. But you can't come in and create an atmosphere and just keep breaking the rules. It's not on. It hasn't been on for me for 10 years. When I was going to the games, I was pissed off with the Green Brigade, and that was 10 years ago. And I'm even more pissed off with them now. They're no better, no more important than any other fan. But again, I'll say it, if they adhere to the rules that everybody else adheres to, and they bring that noise, I'd welcome them back. But if they don't, I'll no miss them, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think you're already talking like they're not going to be there, the way you're saying about period of adjustment. And
well, they're no, they won't be, because they won't, they don't adhere to rules. That's just not what they do. They won't, there'll be no give, because Celtic won't give, because why should they? And the Green Brigade won't give because they just don't. It's the Green Brigade's way of the highway.
But then, Ross, I'll come to you in a wee second, Willie. Just going back to you, if you're in the Green Brigade and you look across the city to the Union Bears, whatever they're called, the big massive pyrotechnic show they done against Dundee at Dens Park, got the game delayed by half an hour, no sanction. No fine.
But that was in the Premier League. The sanctions.
Yeah, but I know you're talking about. I know you're talking about European football in this thing. But can you see whether maybe they're going a certain section can get away with it here? We're doing pyrotechnics in the SPFL, but still get in trouble for it, and we're being called in to repute by the board, or we're getting banned. Look, I don't agree with blocking fire exits. God no, I don't agree with rushing stadiums. I don't agree with overcrowding in areas of the park. No way. But I do believe, for me. Yeah, Anthony, that's a good point. But I do believe, for me, Willie, that the Green Brigade do offer something to Celtic in terms of the atmosphere, getting the songs created, some of the songs may be controversial, 100%. But then Ross kind of backed up what I'm saying by saying he wouldn't do it because he's only there with a couple of mates. So I'd be left to another Saxon support to do it. So at the end of the day, you're going to get another altar group formed or another singing group formed. If the Green Brigade toed a line and Big Red said, mind their fucking manners, I think for me, they'll come back into Celtic Park. Do you know what I mean? And some of the things they've done, everyone has issues with different things they've done. Let's be honest. But majority of what I've seen, I like what they do. I think they provide the vibrance, the colour. I mean, the pyrotechnics are lauded across the world. Like they're pictured in European nights. They're shown across various sites, not just ultra group sites like supporter sites and away day support and all that type of stuff. For the atmosphere they create. Is there arseholes an element of dickheads in it? Of course there is, but that's like every walk of life. There's dickheads in your workplace. There's dickheads when you walk out in the street. But again, it's all about how you handle yourself and conduct yourself in the public space. I do get that, but you said strap in for Ross, Billy. Where are you sitting with the Green Brigade argument at the moment?
See, to be honest, I'm sick of hearing them talking about it. We're talking like us as I talked about, and I know I'm not going to go into it all again when we talk about how the club's built in politics and all that. I totally understand where people are coming from that, but it seems like whatever's going on the other side of the country, which I'm not going to get into either, the other side of the country, other side of the world, we're now in our group chat and on a Celtic Football Podcast, that's all we're talking about. And it just blows my mind that that's the case. Mr. Murdoch in the comments mentioned it earlier, and I put it up, and I totally agree. That's the one thing that's really annoying me at the moment in time is this narrative that they've been banned because they're waving Palestinian flags. It's not. It's a number of things that's happened over the past however many years where the club keep getting fined and warnings and all the rest of it left, right and centre. It's an accumulation of things. It's not just us waving flags. And like it or not, I understand why the club have done it. I think Ross is bang on. They need to adhere to the rules, and that's it. That's just life.
Would you miss them?
They definitely add to what's going on in the stadium. So if they adhere to the rules, I would welcome them back 100%. I see, to be honest with you, I'm not really that fussed either way. I think they do a lot. They've obviously do a lot of good stuff. The charity and the food banks is amazing, but that doesn't excuse the stuff that like the club are obviously banning them for. Yeah, just see for me, honestly, between this is both parties. It just seems like some sort of high school drama bullshit. He said, she said this and that, and fucking this and that. And oh well, he said that. Oh well, she said that, and he fucking hell. And again,
it's
this
like reading somebody's drunken Facebook argument.
Yeah, you're right.
And the examples.
PM me. You're right, it's just there needs to be some sort of agreement coming or some decision come into place now because it's getting a bit ridiculous now, and it all takes away from what we are all here for, and it's our football club and the love of our football club and the football. Like, I can't remember the last time I came on this podcast and actually talked about what's going on the pitch. Everything right now is about
we've been off for 2 years.
Politics and the outside. I know. I just hope that there's a wee football club in Egypt somewhere flying Scotland flags and protesting about the cost of living crisis who are here and helping us out. Hopefully they didn't get banned, but
no, fair play.
It's just see this whole high school. He said, she said, fucking just get it sorted, and there needs to be a conclusion. See, as much as I am, see the statement about how the Green Brigade talked about we demanded a meeting at the start of the year and we were told September and all this and the next thing, and we didn't get that. That really, really annoyed me because I understand their position in the club, but why are they any better than any other fan that's on the terraces or even at home? Everybody's got stuff going on in life and they can't afford to be in a position that somebody else is in. Why have they got more of a say than the normal Celtic fan demanding meetings with the board? And for me, I was just like, madness. But I just want to get back to the football. So whatever, there does need to be a meeting, and there needs to be a it can't just be like the Green Brigade going, no, well, you can't do this because it's our freedom of speech and we're doing that. There needs to be a bit of give and take, right? Well, what we can do this, right? That's fine. The board need to maybe have a bit of leeway as well. But at the end of the day, Celtic have their hands tied when it comes to this is the UEFA rules. We're getting fined, and like it could, if see that continues, it could end up getting worse than that. You could get banned, and I'm not saying that like that it's going to take a lot to get to that position, but you don't know what's happening in the line, and the club are just trying to adhere to the rules, and the Green Brigade aren't.
The rebellious child.
I am a massive believer in freedom of speech and all the rest of it, but I do think there's a time and a place for it, and I think the Green Brigade have got their point across. So if whatever protest it is, whatever it's out there. It just needs to all be wound in now and just get back to the fucking football.
Get back to the football. Don't worry, we've got a lot of AGM talking points really before we get to the football, so you need to strap in.
I do.
But I mean, for the Green Brigade, obviously, you know my point of view. I want them back in the club as soon as possible. And Rodgers used to talk about the first time he came round was he came into the club about the Holy Trinity, the fan, the support, the boardroom, that all being together as one. Unfortunately, that's not the way at the moment, and I do hope that gets back together again. And the Green Brigade for me are also a big part of that, the big part of the support as well. But Ross, we'll move on, and we'll talk about the other issue that people are talking. Well, he referenced the money in the bank, and one of the interviews on Celtic TV was Jerry McCulloch interviewing the Chief Financial Officer, Chris Mackay. Jerry McCulloch actually led this question absolutely shameful, in my opinion. He said that we've got a lot of money in the bank, and some of the support would ask, why are we spending all the money? Again, no one's ever said that, Jerry. So, I mean, that's not the issue here that I have anyway. But in regards to the money in the bank, it's 72.4 million, roughly quoted. Obviously, some of that's ring fence for Barrowfield and Lennoxtown. And then in this magic word of a buffer, the biggest buffer in world football, in my opinion, that Celtic have at the moment to play with. There is money there to be backed, apparently, for January that's going to be invested into the team. Michael Nicholson promised that. But Rodgers has quite clearly said he wants quality. He doesn't want any more project players. And where do the board go from here if they don't kind of match that in January, after we've seen it so publicly now being said?
Well, it was said publicly in the summer, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, we never brought in the quality that most of the fan base wanted. Rodgers has come out again. It's maybe a wee bit touchy, trying to put a bit of pressure on the board. You need to back me here. I've been okay with it that window in the summer. There was a period of settling in and stuff like that where he had to assess the squad, but in January I want to be backed a bit stronger. I want to maybe get guys in. I'm reading between the lines that he's sort of saying I want to get guys in to have another tilt at the Champions League next year. Is it the new format next year's Champions League?
Yeah, new format. Right? Yeah, 8 games.
So I mean, we don't know how that's going to transpire, but we need to tool up a bit better than what we have in previous years for this one. It's more games, so it's more money. It's more opportunities to win games, which is obviously more money again. But you don't want to. I mean, I might be wrong here, but it could get to a point earlier in the 8 games if we don't tool up a bit better, where there'll be like maybe 2 or 3 dead rubbers where they just mean nothing. Mm-hmm. And we don't want that. And apart from obviously just getting the wins, do you know what I mean? Or trying to get points on the board to get however much money it gives you for a point or a win. I don't know. But again, it goes back to, I just want the transparency. Like you said that Jerry McCulloch would say, why is some fans are asking, why is that not being spent on players and stuff like that? It goes back to the transparency. The thing it gets me is though, right, and I hear it all the time, and it really does my tits in, right? Folk will say, you look at Benfica, you look at Lons, you look at Ajax, you look at Feyenoord, you look at PSV. We're in a level footing with them. Why do we know? Why do we know spend the money that they spend? And I'm like, I'm not going to argue that we aren't on a level footing with them. But what I will say is, one plays in the French league, one plays in the Dutch league. I've heard folks saying, like say Ajax will sell a player for 15 million or whatever, or 20 million and buy one for 15 million, right? It's more than that, actually. Like Ajax could sell players for 30, 40 million. They command that fee quite easily, which allows them then to buy a player at 15 million, 20 million. And the players are going to come to Ajax because Ajax can afford to pay the wages of that player. It's more appealing to go to the Dutch league. It's more appealing to go to the French league and play for loans than it is to come to Celtic nowadays and play in the Scottish league. As much as Celtic's a bigger club than Lons, we might have the same amount of money as that team, but for me it's more difficult to attract the type of player that they've got to Celtic because of where we play. It's a geographical thing. And I don't think for a minute that the Celtic board are sitting in there, sitting on the top of 72 million. Well, I alluded to it. There's outgoings for things, obviously Barrafield and stuff like that, and then you've got whatever else. But I don't think for a minute Celtic are sitting on a fortune there and going, well, you're not getting that, we're not spending that. Like the board will be... Listen, I'm not saying they're doing their absolute utmost, but they maybe could do a wee bit more. But I don't get the comparison to an Ajax, a Feyenoord, a Lons.
Well, Ross, if you let me,
don't get it.
If I can come back to it in that instance, I know what you're saying. Look, what is that? What? But look, I know we've round and round before about this, and we'll probably continue to do it for years to come, hopefully, on the podcast. Look, the thing for me is, I think sometimes we speak about clubs like Benfica, Feyenoord, Lons, Ajax. Yeah, obviously they do their own recruitment model. But the only way for us to reach that or even get close to that is by making the small steps to do the same kind of recruitment model, bring in the same kind of money. I mean, we're talking about Matt O'Reilly going for maybe 25 plus because he's been that great. If we can get players constantly leaving for 25 to 30 million, then surely we can increase the bracket of players that we buy at. Then if we increase the players that we buy, but if we increase the players, the money we buy in players, let's say to 5 to 6 million, we can then command a bigger transfer fee if they do better. I know it can be hit and miss. Look, don't get me wrong. We've seen it we get some gems out of the 55 players that we pluck out of European markets. So I mean, we get about 2 or 3 out of that crop, and that's fair enough. We sell them on for pretty high dough. Jeremy Frimpong went very early on. Virgil van Dijk. You can name a few others in that list. Kieran Tierney, homegrown, obviously. But my issue is, we're talking about money in the bank. You're talking about tuning it up. But then on the other hand, you're saying, we can't do this because of X, Y, and Z geographical issues. But we need to keep throwing our hat in the ring and not take the first sign of defeat as, we can't get that player because he doesn't fancy a cold night in Falkirk. You go to another quality player. You know what I mean? You go to a different quality of player. You have to keep looking. You can't just drop back down to signing.
That comes back to the transparency that I was talking about, though, because
fair enough.
That's what I'm saying. Like the uncertainty. See if Celtic come out and say, "Well, we tried to get this left back, like the one we were linked to, for instance, in the summer, the left back, the French guy or something.
Merlin.
We tried to get him. He didn't want to come. I don't know if he went somewhere else. That's just an example, right? He didn't want to come. We offered him this. He got offered X, Y, Z elsewhere, which we couldn't match. We done our best. See if I know that we're in the market for the player and we're trying to get that level of player, and they tell us that, look, this is what happened, but we couldn't get him for whatever reason. He wanted to go to, I don't know, even for might be a bad example, but that was it, Riley McGree. Like, we couldn't get him because he chose Middlesbrough over Celtic. See, as long as they let us know, and it would sit better with me to know that we've put our hat in the ring. But we're just guessing now. If I know we're trying to get that level of player, but we're not getting them for the reasons that I've alluded to, and I'm not saying they're fact, I'm just saying they're possible reasons as to why we're not getting that player. I just don't like the comparison. Celtic, because they've got the same money as like a Feyenoord or an Ajax or whatever, they've got other things to offer in terms of geographically. And I'm not saying it's fact, but it's the transparency. If Celtic come out and say we tried to get this player, we tried to get that player, but we couldn't get them because they wanted to go to the French league, they wanted to go to the Dutch league, then that's fair enough. As long as I know that Celtic are doing almost or everything in their power to try and go to that next level. But we don't know that, and that's why we're having this debate every single week, pretty much.
Yeah. No, I 100% get what you're saying. Look, I agree with the transparency side of things. It would clear a lot of issues up, a lot of speculation up. Did we go for Livakovic, the goalkeeper? Did we go for Merlin and it just didn't fancy it? Then you could be like, that's grand. Do you know what I mean? Willie, and you could kind of be like, throw your hands up. The board tried, or Brendan Rodgers tried to convince the player to come to the club at that time, but it didn't work out. And coming to yourself about the money issue, again, as I said, a big chunk of money, a large chunk of money was referenced to at the AGM and all them interviews, and things are being used for different things. And I mean, 72 million, mate, big chunk of money. Like, and we can't deny it. It's a huge bit of cash to have in the bank for us as a Scottish club. A big wedge, and for some fans, it's sitting burning the hole in the back pocket. And you get Michael Nicholson say, we're going to invest in January. We know January is a notoriously difficult window to get anybody in. Why didn't he do that in the summer? When you go back to the summer, right, you look at the players that had come in. And Ross, you did a fantastic podcast going through the squad depth, and I really enjoyed that one. But the only real person who's made a significant impact on the team's Palma. The rest have been kind of in and out. Yang's maybe coming on the game. Naroski got injured, fair enough. Larka Beltis dropped off the face of the cliff. He's in the B team. All these players, I mean, you go back to like Burnaby, you go back to players like that, and yet I advocated for Burnaby 100%. But Mark Lawwell was brought into question. Apparently, it was Ange Postecoglou. Maybe I was a bit of throwing Ange under the bus as to why he was recruited at the team as head of scouting or whatever his title is. But where do you stand on it at the moment, the money issue and the player quality side of things?
What have we got? 74 million. That's fuck all, to be fair, in football nowadays. 74 million. With the way football is in Europe, and players are going for more than that. I know we're not going to compete at that level. I just think there's so many variables. I don't think it's as easy just to point the finger and go, why are we not getting that standard of player? Like you have said, as much as it hurts me to say it, because we are the best club in the world, Glasgow Celtic isn't as big an attraction anymore as it once was. We can't compete wages-wise with clubs. Like the McGree one's a perfect example. He's obviously going to get double the amount of money we'd have got at us at Middlesbrough. It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. And I just don't think the market nowadays, it's as easy just to say, why can you not get... I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this again because I've said it till I'm fucking blue in the face, but I just don't think it's as easy to say, there's a quality player, 10 million, right, get him in. There's so many variables on all sides as to why that doesn't happen. Otherwise, every team in the world's transfer window would be top notch. I think the signings in the summer, I agree with you that breaking into this first team, it's obviously not happened for most. But at the same time, that was the bulk of a treble winning side last season that was unstoppable. So it's not easy to break into that team. For example, I feel like we've signed a couple of really good centre midfielders. I think Holm looks a real good player. But to break into a midfield three, O'Reilly, Hatate and Cal McGregor's a tall order. Could we have done more? Of course we could. And like I say, I'm not like, if we can sign Mbappe and that tomorrow, I fucking let's do it. But that's just not the world we live in, unfortunately. I was pleased to hear Brendan say about the here and now, and we need to sign. We've got a lot of really good young prospects that could be quality in the future, but we need to sign quality for now. But again, we did that with Kyogo and Hatate and O'Reilly. O'Reilly came from League One for 1.5 million, and he's been the best player in the league by a country mile this year. So there are players out there for Celtic that they don't need to break the bank for. But I want to go back to my original statement about the for us, financially, we're in a magnificent position. But looking at the global scale and like these Champions League teams, 74 million in the green is absolutely hee-haw. All these teams are billions in debt and still not competing at the highest level. So it's interesting. I can see the pros and cons from both sides and the arguments for both sides. And I don't like it, but I understand it.
Well, look, I get that. The money thing is the biggest issue, isn't it? You see all them financial results for us, and Willie's right. We spoke about it that we're blue in the face, but it's going to come up time and time again. I have a funny feeling it's going to come up January every week if we're not signing players, Ross, and if we're sitting on that kind of no, bam. Look, I think that ship sailed for me, to be honest. I'll say it as a joke, but look, do you know what I mean? But kind of lost the financial element, and Willie made a point.
What the hell you got, Chelsea Clinton? Chelsea Carter?
Willie made a point. You look at the grand scale of things of European football. I have no idea what the fuck you are talking about. And oh, right. And yeah, maybe we don't have jaw dropping finances, we can't afford fees and all that type of stuff. But I think what the vast majority of fans are saying, Ross, and like you said as well, pull up, take the risk on 3 to 4 players. Like Roger said, here and now, and they're ready to go. And I'm sure he has an eye on a couple that he wants into the club. And he made it quite clear that he has the final say. Although what did concern me a wee bit, he said it's up to Mark Lowell to do the scouting. Don't think I'm too keen on that, to be honest, but I do get what Roger is saying at that instance. And hopefully his remit for January is to get quality players in. And then hopefully in January, like you said, we can pull up and aim for the Champions League next year.
I did say tool up, and I really do hope that. I don't know if that'll happen in January. No, I don't know if that'll happen in January. I would like it to happen, of course I would. But January, and listen, I've heard people saying, "Oh, you know, we fall into just believing what they tell us," and January can. They will tell us that it's difficult to get players in January, but it is. It just is, because the top players, the type of player that some fans are looking for Celtic to sign is an established player who most likely at the club they're at will be an established first choice player. And they teams are not going to let an established first choice player leave their club mid-season unless they really need to and they need the money. There's loads of variables. Again, it's not just jump manager, get this guy, bring him in, that's it, move on to the next one. It's just not like that. I would love Celtic to go in.
What's it like then?
This is by the way, I'm assuming this is at me again, because this was a wee bit back. Sorry, Ross. I'm going to say this once more, right? Because I say this till I'm fucking blue in the face, right? If we go and sign somebody in January for 25 million, I will be over the moon. I want us to spend money on top players as much as anybody. But I understand why we don't, why we can't, and why
I do as well. I do.
Aye. And so they are.
But I'm asking you, right?
That's all we are trying to say.
Willie Lowell and all the rest of it.
It's more of a joke now, I think. It's more of a joke.
Having a head on where it's, instead of thinking with my heart, I step back and have a look at things and try to see why these things are happening. Go and spend fucking 40 million, and I hope we spend 70 million in January and get fucking relegated.
70 million on Mugabe, Porteous, bring them in, no problem, we'll be fine. But here's the thing, right? I want to ask you, you both have said, I'm not trying to be a smart arse, I'm 100% not. I get the difference of opinions. Again, the comments are going to fly things at us, that's grand. You keep saying, it's not like that. It's not as easy as that. What I want to ask you, Ross, what's it like then? Because I feel like we're saying this every time. Every time we're saying the logistics of saying that just doing the fee of £10 million is easy enough. But I think these are kind of referencing the aftermath of that. Is it wages you're talking about? Is it what do you mean? Because I'm not quite understanding. It's not like that. If you get me.
Well, I've answered part of it in January, and that it's not like that in January, where the better players, the established players that some fans want, I want, are going to be established at the clubs they're in already, and those clubs are vying for things, and they're not going to let their best players go in this window. That is right across the board. Like Real Madrid are not going to do their best business in January. They're going to do their best business in the summer. Now, Celtic had a really good January window. I think it was Angie's first January when he brought in Hatate, Maeda, and was
O'Reilly.
it Ideguchi or O'Reilly? That was a tremendous January window, right? And it was because Ange had that wee bit of sort of know-how in that Japanese league, which we don't have now. But it was out of the box. It was where you can get really good deals done for low money. The markets that probably Celtic mostly will be looking in now, I don't think it's as easy to do that. If we go and get another Korean guy or a Japanese guy, it won't be a great signing anymore. The first thing it will be said is project signing. So the guys that
we're like the other Japanese guy, aren't we?
I don't know, but the guys that most of our fans are wanting to sign now are guys who have got experience of playing in a European league. Maybe not Europe as such, but certainly a European league. They want them to be between £8 to £12 million. And if that's the case, not all of them, let's be fair. Maybe some are saying 6 million, but they want, you said it, you want to go to that £6 million player. We've done it, right? We've done it. We bought Jota. For
sold him for
25. He lasted a year, right? He lasted a year and we made £25 million on him, right? If we buy another £6 million player, right, and he does what Jota done, which was brilliant, he might last a year again, and then he goes.
That's what I want.
How do you build? How do you build?
That's what I want.
But how do you build? How do you build a team to compete in Europe when you're getting a guy at 6 million, keep him for a year, and selling him for 25? Right? You're not going to then. But then you're hear me out. You're not going to, in my opinion, right? You're not going to then, right, get a £6 million, because what you're saying is get a £6 million player, sell him for 25, then sign an £8 to £10 million player because you've made that money on him. But Celtic are not going to get that £8 to £10 million player because that is the next level again, and that next level of player who is established and ready to help a team like Celtic challenging Europe are not going to come to Scotland because they are ready. They are Champions League ready. They're not coming to Scotland. They're going to go to the Premier League. They're going to go to the French League. They're going to go to the German League because they're that level of player. They're not. They're Celtic get the because of where they play, they get the level of player where they're just about there, and they make their name at Celtic. When they're there, they don't come to Scotland and play in Scotland. They're not interested because they're beyond that level. That's my opinion.
But Rodgers said it. He wants here and now. So is he talking up his hole then? Is he not going to get that player that he wants?
I'll tell you. Can I say something about
he might well be. Sorry, 2 seconds, Willie. Sorry. He might well be able to get that player because who Rodgers is, and the board need to back him for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying what I think. I think it's very difficult for Celtic to get that type of player. I think it's very difficult. I think Rodgers knows that. I don't think Rodgers is talking about a £10 to £12 million player. He's already said that we're not going to sign that. If we can get £6 million players, I definitely think we should. We can afford that. We bought Carter Vickers at 6 million. We bought Jota at 6 million. But my point is, well, if they do well, right, they then leave because they've done well in Europe. They've made their name. They've done well domestically. Bigger clubs circle then. Well, not bigger clubs, but clubs with more money and different, like bigger leagues, if you like. They circle then and they get that player. Albeit Saudi isn't a bigger league. That was a poor example, but you get my sentiments. So that's the level of player we're getting, and then they leave after a year, right? So how can you build a team?
Can I come back to that though?
Celtic maybe need to be stronger and hold out for another year, but What if that player wants to go and then we end up with a situation like the 10 season where we held on to players. They got lambasted for holding into players for too long. They get lambasted for not letting players. You know what I'm saying?
Can I come back to what you're saying about the 25? I know what he wants to make a point, but about the 25 million, £6 million thing, right? That's in a roundabout way. That's what I want, right? Because if you look at it from my point of view, and I do get where you're coming from, we signed Jota. Let's say when we got him for a singular season on a permanent transfer, the inevitability here would be Jota done well that year, done brilliant in Europe, which in return means as a team, Celtic probably done well in Europe with that kind of quality of player in the team at that time. He goes for £25 million, right? We sign another player at £6 to £7 million, but like just for example, like him again, and it happens again. There's £50 million in a year. The return on investment is tenfold of what you're actually spending on a player. Therefore, in my opinion, I might be talking shit. In my opinion, it opens doors to, if we're getting £50 million in a year with two players, we can maybe move to that next bracket. This is what I mean. I'm not saying we're in a position now where we can go 10, 12 million. But if a player's doing well after a year at Celtic, then hopefully in hindsight, or if you're thinking in the future, that means as a club we must have performed well on the European scale. Jota stood out in that team because he was just different gravy to the rest, like O'Reilly is doing now. He might be the next £25 million player. But the return on investment is crazy. If you speculate a bit of money, yes, there's going to be duds along the way. You'll sign a player at £7 million, he won't work out, like Barkas, like a Yeti at £5. We take the hits and we move on. But I'm not saying every signing has to be X, Y, and Z amount. I'm saying if we get our project players in, Yang, Palma, and then sprinkle maybe 3 or 4 here, in Roger's words, here and now players to help that team across the line or help us compete better, help us see a better result happen in European football. That's all I mean. I think it gets caught in a bit of translation where I might get angry about certain things. I do 100%, but all I'm meaning is if we do that, the board can look for, if it's all about money, they can look forward to £50 million coming in every other year. And then you're swimming in it. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, but then, listen, you make your point, Alex. I know you were waiting there.
Can I just say something here? Yeah, for sure. I want to say something about this fees stuff, because this is what everybody's talking about. Everyone in the comments is saying as well. I'm not saying 25. I'm saying we could buy an £8 million player or a £10 million player, right? I don't give a flying fuck what we spend on a player, right? I want quality.
Yeah.
Just as an example, off the top of my head, we got Henrik Larsson for peanuts. Didn't spend fortunes on him. There's players out there that's fucking astronomical. These young English players that go for stupid money, and they're nowhere near that quality. See if we, for example, spent 15 million on Kyogo and 10 million on Hatate, nobody would be having this conversation right now because they're quality players. It doesn't matter what the fee is. Brendan Rodgers has never once, he said he wants here and now quality. He's never once said that needs to be a £10 million player or a £15 million player, or I spent £9 million on Edwards, so why are we not spending that now? I just want quality. I don't understand this fascination with the fee that's paid for a player. Like, why does it matter if he's paid 10 million or 2 million? We paid 1.5 million for O'Reilly. If we paid 15 million for him, everybody would be like, oh, we paid 50 million for this brilliant player. I just don't understand this whole obsession with needing to spend mountains of money. I just want quality, and I don't care if it's 15, 20 million or 1 million. And I just don't understand this fascination with why we not spent money when. And I understand, because there's been a lot of players that have came in that are project players or players that are in the model that we look to improve and then sell on. I understand that. But there's also been a lot of quality come in as well. And nobody talks about that because it wasn't fortunes paid for them. I just feel like there's so much a fixation on prices of players, and there's no need for that. There's players out there, like I said, Henrik's a perfect example. Paid absolute peanuts for him compared to other players that came into that time. And he ended up world class. This fixation on, and I know what you're going to say, because you're going to say the chances are if you paid 10 million for a player, I'm not saying just you. I just mean people in the. Because I'm arguing with everybody in the comments tonight.
Uh,
If you pay 10 million for a player or $1 million for a player, the chances are the boy that's 10 million is going to be better quality. I totally understand that. What I'm trying to say is I don't understand why everybody's getting caught up on the fee when that's like it doesn't matter when it comes to just the quality of the player. I just don't understand the fixation on the fee. We've no broke our record since Edward and we've got all this money. Yeah, but in my opinion, we've brought players in of equal quality or better quality than him since. And everybody was ranting last year about how Kyogo's the best since Henrik, but we didn't break our transfer fee to buy him. What does it matter? He's quality. That's what I'm worried. That's what I'm bothered about.
See the thing as well, that like somebody, I don't know who it was that used Edward as an example. We paid 9 million for him. We paid £9 million for Edward, right? We had him in loan, I think, for a season, and he done pretty well. But when we paid £9 million for Edward, what was it? Maybe 6 years ago? Well, about 5-6 years ago. Paid £9 million for him. There's nobody got to tell me when we paid £9 million for him. He was ready to. He was European ready and ready to take us to the next level.
He was a project.
He was playing with the French under-21 team. We paid £9 million for him 6 years ago, right? No, he was a really good player for Celtic, but he didn't help us make any more inroads in Europe than a Matt O'Reilly or a Kyogo at like half the price. And like if you're spending £9 million on one player, £9 million one player isn't going to take us to the next level. We're going to have to spend 6, 7, 8, £9 million on 3, 4, 5 players to take us to the next level, to give us a real shot. You really listen. We can get. We are capable with the team we've got now, and I know the facts in front of me. I'll argue otherwise, but this team that we've got right now is capable of picking up a couple of results. Like this team, in my opinion, are capable of winning the next 2 games in Europe. They're capable of going to Rome. I think they showed enough in the first game. They're capable of going to Rome and getting 3 points. They're capable of beating Feyenoord at home. You need that wee bit of luck as well, of course you do. But this team is no far away, and they're capable of getting the results, right? So see if we pick up 6 points in the next 2 games. I know it's no guaranteed. I know it's going to be very difficult. But see if we had spent 6, 7, 8, £9 million on 3 or 4 players, it would still be difficult. It would still be hard, and there'd still be trepidation. We still wouldn't know if we're going to win the games. And I know when they face it on paper, it gives you a better chance, but it doesn't guarantee anything. This team have got a really good chance of winning the next 2 games, right? And that'll leave us with 7 points, I think that would be, if we win the 2 games, right? See, even if we win one of them, we don't get out the group, we don't get Europa League, we win one of the games, we get 4 points. That's progress, right? Plus, we lost Ange. Everybody says that the squad's not as good as it was because we lost Arfield and we lost Jota. But we've got an opportunity still to get more points out of this Champions League group than we did in the last one. And if we do, it's progress. And that's us going backwards, apparently.
But I think the main issue is as well, kind of talking about, you said European football going backwards. I think it's just the first of the fans to get into a knockout stage of a European competition, and they're going in their minds, like myself, if we did spend that, could we do a run in the Europa League? Could we make a fist of it? Could we get the last 16? So I know you're saying, and I know you're not being funny or anything, but you're saying that's us going backwards apparently. At the end of the day, we're still finishing last in the Champions League group. Do you know what I mean? That's I think what the issue is with the majority of the fan base. I've seen a comment Willie put up earlier on. I think it was, I can't remember who it was, Willie, if you could remind me, if you even remember it. It was like, is that basically an excuse for us to keep getting scudded in Europe? Or are people happy about that if we don't spend money or even look at
Brisbane?
See that comment there? It's like,
that's not what we are saying.
It gives you a better chance. It doesn't guarantee. We spent 6 million in Barkas. We spent 5 million in Ayeti. Pish.
But does that mean we shouldn't do it again?
No, it doesn't. But who says we won't?
By the way, we
So you're
Just
spent,
saying
didn't
it's
do it in the
pish?
window there.
You're saying it's pish?
by the
No,
way,
I
we
say
spent like
wasn't
four,
the players were pish.
Oh, well, yeah, you can't argue that. Yeah, I think as well, like we mentioned Edward, I think a great point as well. Market inflation. Kyogo for me is better than Edward, and he costs 4.5. You're getting a £9 million, and you have to, do you know what I mean? You are going to speculate a lot of times to accumulate, but look, we'll move on from the money chat. I think
yeah, I
the
just want to,
comments are on.
Stephen.
Go ahead,
By the
sorry.
way, there's loads and loads of great debate in the comments for both sides of this argument. It's really great. Appreciate you all coming on and doing that. But like we talk about Jota and Carter Vickers and excuse me, who else for whatever and you're talking about. We just need a couple of £6-7 million players. Like say Palma and Narocki and that came in for like 4.5-5 million. £1 million in football's fuck all nowadays. So what's an extra £1 million going to get you? Like to better than the two players who are apparently project players that are coming in. I just don't understand. I personally don't understand that argument.
I mean, Jota's left Celtic for 25 million there, right? Palmer's come in for, what was it, 3.5 million we paid?
3.5 million, yeah.
3.5 million, right? No.
It's transfer
Listen, I know
market.
Jota done it over a longer period of time, but Palmer games ratio to assists and goals already is better. And if he keeps on that trajectory, it's going to be better than Jota. Listen, he's not as easy in the eye as Jota was to watch. But in terms of efficiency, for the money El Ittihad or whoever it was paid for Jota, I think we've paid 3.5 million for somebody as efficient on the football field as Jota was. He might not be as nice and as tidy and cute and flicks and all the rest of it, but he's as efficient as Jota. I don't think that can be argued.
I don't know
for
about
a
that.
fraction of
That's
the
a
price.
big statement. That's a big
Well,
statement.
Leil Abada is as efficient in terms of numbers. I'm talking in terms of numbers. Leil Abada is as efficient as Jota was. Palma is as
Yeah.
efficient, in my opinion.
What do you think about that one, Willie?
Yeah, I totally understand what Ross is saying, as in goals and assists. Yeah, absolutely. If Palma continues the way he's going, then he'll post the same numbers, if not better, than Jota. Do I think he's a better player? No, I don't. But in terms of his numbers and what he's putting out, yeah, I totally agree.
It's a debate that will rumble on forever with transfer fees and Celtic Football Club, and do you know what I mean? We could talk about it all night, and I can see there's over 203 comments, and I'm guaranteeing the majority of them is about money and about money in the bank and calling Willie Lowell. It's just fun. It's just fun in games, isn't it? But look, we'll move on to the next point of calling the AGM, Willie, and that was the VAR. And I noticed today the SFA released their independent panel or independent review panel, and apparently said there's been only 3 mistakes over the course since VAR has been introduced into Scottish football. Now, within the AGM, obviously there's a bit of jokes pointed at Rangers, probably a bit of lip service by Michael Nicholson saying penalty to Rangers, and Peter Lawwell saying something about, like, was it John Gregg or I don't know, but about penalty kicks and all that. But yeah, it was all kind of coded and stuff in what I was reading. All a bit of fun, bit of a laugh there. But the club are partly taking it serious, really, behind closed doors. They had a meeting, I think it was today, funny enough, when the independent panel thing was released, and apparently the 3 mistakes, 2 was in the same game against Aberdeen. None involved Celtic, which is quite ironic and quite funny. But VAR, me and Anthony, who's in the comments, have talked about this again till we're blue in the face. But it's an issue that just needs absolutely sorted out before this gets any worse.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not just in our game, it's all over the world. It's VAR's just, and it's not necessarily VAR, it's the people running the VAR. Some of the decisions are just ridiculous. And it was John texted our group chat today and broke the news that there was only 3
He did.
3 incidents. And it's absolutely, I've seen games where there's more than 3 incidents in the one game. We could talk about this all night with VAR, and it's like I say, it's not necessarily VAR. It's meant to be used to help the referee make his decisions, and in most cases, for me, it actually hinders that. this whole 4 people looking at an incident and then sending the referee to the screen, like, what's the fucking point? If that's like, I've never seen a moment where the referees went to the screen and overruled what they've said in his ear. So just give the fucking decision if that's the case and speed up the play. But we're talking about football. I don't know if you've seen Neil Warnock's thing. It was brilliant about how he would change VAR, and there was several different points, and he was like, if a decision takes more than 30 seconds, just go with the original referee's decision. Like ex-footballers sitting in the position with VAR rather than just officials. Just all sorts of points like that would, 1, speed it up, 2, just give us a beautiful game back. See when somebody scores a goal and they can't celebrate until the goal's given and then the time's passed, it fucking kills me inside. And I just don't understand this whole. I don't even think the fucking officials understand that we keep given all this nonsense about clear and obvious errors. That's the only way it's going to go overturned. And then there's errors that aren't clear and obvious that are getting overturned. Just off the top of my head, and it's not even in our league, but it was a Scotland national side against Spain, and McTominay scored a free kick, and they chopped it off because Jack Henry apparently fouled the keeper. Then that was the official announcement. Then 20 minutes later in the game, it fed through to the commentary that, oh no, it was actually given for offside.
Yeah.
So the officials don't even know. So how the fuck is that clear and obvious when they don't even know in the space of half an hour whether it was a foul or offside? It's just absolutely, it's nonsense. And the fact that there was only 3 incidents pulled up was that just meant to be for the start of this season to now? Or is it
I think is it not as a whole? Is it not as a whole?
No, I think it's just this season.
Even then,
it's
absolutely mind blowing. And what you're saying about how we've got officials going along, and like every club's got officials going along to do whatever and all that, it's not going to make any difference. It's a fucking tick box exercise for the officials and VAR. It's a tick box exercise to say, look, we're explaining this, and you had your say, but it's just an absolute nonsense. But it's not just in our game. It's just world football at the moment, and I don't like the way it's going. It's just an absolute farce what's going on. I don't think it's come to a point where, never mind the rules of VAR and how it's meant to be implemented, the rules of football are now changing and evolving because I don't think officials know what's a handball and what's not a fucking handball, or like the actual rules of our game are now being manipulated, and it's I honestly think it's killing the game, absolutely killing the game. And it's not so much VAR, it's the officials that are using it. I think if it's used in the right way, it can be beneficial. But every game goes to 120 minutes now, and decisions are getting looked at for fucking 10 minutes at a time. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's spoiling the beautiful game.
Aye, I totally agree with that, Ross. And I think as well, the SFA or whatever come out and saying there's only been 3 clear and obvious mistakes is quite embarrassing. As well, he said there's been games where there's been like 10 mistakes in one game. And I think what's happening with VAR is it's literally re-refereeing some of the games that you're watching. It's meant to be clear and obvious things, but it's getting involved in fouls, it's getting involved in pulling in the box, it's getting involved in multiple things that shouldn't be there. It should be there for all sides, and the stopping of clear goal-scoring opportunities for red cards, dangerous play, maybe them 3 things. But out with that, there should be no involvement from VAR, but every decision, especially in our game, especially in our game.
Can I just answer that back? Sorry.
I don't even know what that is. What is this?
I want to answer that back because, one, it affects the football, which is what I like to talk about rather than the politics. And it kills me because it's killing a beautiful game. The fuck is that about, man?
I don't like the last part of that message at all there, because I just read it. I don't like the last part of that, because that's literally not even what we're speaking about. We're speaking about VAR here. But Ross, you look at it, as I said there, the 3 things that was been there to introduce that make the game better. It's getting involved in minor things on the field now. I heard on TalkSport, yes, again, for my sins, when I come home from work, I listen to TalkSport in my car. that they're introducing
Okay.
airline pilots to the VAR rooms to help with coping under pressure and big decisions, which again is insane. But yeah, I mean, Michael Nicholson's come out and said there that Celtic are taking it seriously. Do we believe him? I don't know. Not, as Willie said, I don't believe anything's going to change. I think it's just a checkbox again with certain individuals. It's the VAR at the moment's crazy, isn't it?
Aye, it's been it was a shambles across the board before it came in Scotland, and then it came in Scotland, and it was a shambles across the board.
You'll like that.
It's a farce. Brilliant. Aye, and it came in, and the first game, it was, listen, I know it was the first game. The thing that gets me with VAR is, right, they keep saying, not so much now in England and that, but here they're saying it's still new to us, and all the rest of it. I just didn't buy that, because for years the armchair supporter has been using a form of VAR for 30 years.
Yes.
They have, sitting in the house.
It's funny.
Action replays, and like that. Listen, I know that there is subjectivity, but for the most part, we all come to the decision within about 30 seconds. Now, I know they guys are under pressure to get the right decision, but a lot of these referees, for me, don't understand the game, and it's maybe not even that they don't understand it. Excuse me. It's maybe just that they're refereeing the game too much by the book, if you know what I mean, rather than
the Scottish referee?
referee the actual the Scottish referees. Listen, some of the refereeing decisions that I've seen down south have been worse than the decisions that I've seen here. It's the way VAR's being used, and people will call me paranoid, all the rest of it, conspiracy, all you want, but I've got eyes and I see what I see. VAR here is being used exactly how I've said that a million times. It's being used exactly how and pretty much every Celtic fan knew it would be used. It benefits one team even more,
Boom.
and it doesn't benefit the rest.
Boom.
Like they do this, they done this independent review, by the way. Like, you investigate yourself, you're gonna find fuck all. Do you know what I mean? So, like, what was I going to say?
Well, he's just back from doing it.
But it's like they do this. They done this independent review, right? And they said that there's only 3 decisions that they've got wrong between the start of the season and up to this point. Well, that's bullshit right away, because McCausland, was it McCausland? His name is, dived at Livingston
Ross
another week.
Yeah.
Blatant dive. Like, fair enough if the referee gets fooled by that on the park, but then VAR look at it. No, but what was I saying? Sorry. McCausland. The referee. Fair enough, the referee gets fooled by that in the park, right? Because in real time, you could understand why he's maybe been fooled by that, because it's very close. But when you've got the benefit of the replay, and we're talking about clear and obvious, and they don't take that penalty off the Rangers, fuck me. That's
cheating. It's cheating.
Well, aye. Well, I mean, there you go. There you go, right? The boy Dickinson, is it?
Yep.
Now, people can say what they want. He smiled in approval that Rangers got that penalty, and he nodded in approval to Clement. It's all right, kid, we've got you, kind of thing. Maybe he wasn't saying that, but that's certainly what it looked like. He gets rewarded by getting on the VAR team at Parkhead tomorrow.
Ross, did you see the picture circulating online? So David Dickinson's dad is a Rangers season ticket holder, and there was a game.
Like cheapest chips. Type of Jason.
There was you know about Dickinson's real deal. I don't know, but there was a couple of screenshots going around Twitter after that incident with my cousin. And look, I'm not going down a rabbit hole here. Everyone can go see it if they want. There was a game. I think it might have been Ange's first season. They were playing Livingston at the Spaghetti Had. And he put on his Facebook feed, the status thing. I hope my boy gives Rangers a penalty so I can celebrate my birthday. Someone then tweeted the final score of that match. Who got a penalty?
Aye.
So look, I'm not for 1 second saying that was correlated and directly involved. Maybe it was a Stonewaller. I don't know the game, but it happened, and that just shows you, Willie, for me, to kind of make a final point in this, like Ross is saying, that it's been there and has benefited one team. A team hasn't conceded a penalty kick in 64 league games. And I know a supporter at the AGM actually said to the board, are you going to confront the fact that John Beaton was seen in a Rangers supporters club drinking? So they're aware of them situations. And I just hope that someone's going to be held accountable for all of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much more we can say on there. Some of it's like blatant. Like, again, I'm not one for the paranoia stuff, but I mean, some of the stuff you cannot argue a case for. But again, I'll go back to the fact that I feel like the rules have been diluted and referees fucking don't even know what the rule is nowadays. For example, that McCausland one, there's however many officials watching that on replay, on repeat, for several different angles, and they send the ref to the screen. Now, the pressure under that ref to then go to the screen and go, like, how am I meant to go against however many of these saying that when they've seen it several hundred times? It's just unnecessary nonsense, in my opinion. I don't understand how you can't just look at that replay once or twice and do what every other person standing in a pub or sitting in a living room watching the game does and go, that's not a penalty.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree. The thing that made me so good at offsides was FIFA. No, FIFA, the game. It's unbelievable for offsides. Those wee lines and that. You get it so quick. I didn't understand offside for years until I started playing FIFA. But look, we'll move on from that. And before I go any further, go ahead, Ross. Sorry.
I was just going to say that the offside as well, that's another contentious one. Like, it was always give the attacker the benefit of the doubt. That is totally taken away. That Palma goal, totally taken away. I'm sure there's another one. I can't mind. But there was another incident, and it's totally taken away. That they should make it that there's daylight, because if it's that, you're not gaining an advantage. And if you're that offside, you've got to just stick with what the core of football was, and it's give the attacker the benefit of the doubt. It's about scoring goals. You're taking goals off for millimetres. It's daylight, and if they're gaining an advantage with daylight, fair enough. But when it's millimetres, just get it in the bin, man.
Yeah, it's an absolute shambles. So, Steve, it doesn't matter if that makes yes, but the fact was a piss take and the bookies are paying out. Well, look, Big Red, again, we can get caught in that rap, but we all know what's going on there. But before we move on, I want to give a shout out to something here, and it's something actually very special for kids to get involved in. It's the John Thompson Football Academy in Cardigan in Fife. If there's any kids or any people around that area get involved with it, I mean, I think they opened up in June, around about that time, and already they've got over 40 kids in their books. Again, for kids in that area, getting involved, getting in the communities, getting around football. It was actually set up in memory of the goalkeeper, John Thompson, who played for Celtic, and was opened by Scott Brown as well. So if anyone wants to look that up, just search up John Thompson Football Academy on your Twitters, on your Facebooks, and on your Instagram. It's fantastic just to see kids involved in football, and obviously heavily linked to the Celtic Football Club as well. So we're all for that in this podcast. But kind of rounding it up, Willie, and that was the Dermot Desmond thing. Again, he didn't show his face, his nicely twanged beard at the boardroom. He hasn't been there in years. It was his boy, Ross Desmond, was there. And someone was asked, can they guarantee that Celtic wouldn't sell their identity soul to the likes of a Saudi consortium, a Qatari consortium, And he said, without a shadow of a doubt, while him and his dad are alive, that they will not be selling their stake in Celtic Football Club. And for me, I don't like that. But where do you stand on that one?
I don't know. I think it'd be pretty hypercritical of a club that talks about being a club for everybody and our roots and everything that goes with that to sell out to Saudis, right enough. But again, I'm probably not the best person to ask that question because, like I said,
but I mean more. I mean more the fact that they're going to stay, like they're going to be there indefinitely.
Oh, that's what I'm getting to. I'm not the best person to ask because I think the club's in as good a position as it's ever been in my lifetime, financially on the pitch. I think that, of course, I am like everybody else and think we need to do better in Europe, but domestically, like we've been absolutely spoiled rotten in the past 10 plus years. And when I was a boy, we were only winning fucking anything. So I think we oversee that fact because we're like I always say that we're kind of a victim of our own success at times because domestically we are unbelievable. Like it doesn't get enough credit what we've done in the past 10 years at domestic level. So with that in mind, I think the club again is in as good a place as it's been. Hopefully we do some damage in Europe at some point over the next few years. And I, as much as everybody, I don't even want to say anything more because I'm just going to get called law again. But
upset. Who cares if you get called Lawwell? You
I
get
think we
called
could be doing
Desmond.
a lot worse than the people that are at the helm.
No, look again. That's fair enough. I think that the issue, Desmond. There you go. I think the issue, Ross, is people would say again, like myself, we know Dermot's been involved in milestones like Martin O'Neill, Rodgers the first time, and basically convincing Rodgers the second time. But then you can counter that and say he hasn't put physical cash of his own pocket into the club in X amount of years. As wee lad Ross said, they're custodians, and people don't like that language because look, this is before my lifetime. Because apparently the Kellys, people like that back then used them types of phrases before, and it's like custodians. What are you talking about here? They're reluctant to sell their shares. We know the second biggest shareholder in Celtic's a London Stock Exchange company called something like Tridal Investments or something like that, Tidal, whatever. But they're not in it for Celtic, if you get me. But Dermot, to be fair to him, he's obviously a big Celtic fan, but I don't like all the lip service that he thinks Celtic, he breathes Celtic. I just don't believe that, in my personal opinion. He's got a business portfolio and he has to look after it. But I would always be open to selling the club. Look, I'm not saying the Saudi consortium or Qatari, but someone who would like a Radcliffe off the top of my head who invested in United. There's someone with that financial backing and wants to put money of his own into the club. I would welcome that into Celtic any day of the week. I agree with Philly. Financially in the bank, we're really healthy, but I don't like the language saying they're never going to sell their shares. I don't like that at all. It doesn't sit well with me.
I don't know. I'm neither
I'm
here
thinking,
nor there with it. Because,
I'm thinking, sorry, mate. I'm just thinking that I understand where you're coming from, Stephen, but I'm just thinking that it's more of a look how secure the club is. We've got it in a secure place. We're never going to get to a position where it's not going to be secure. It's in safe hands. That's what I took for that.
Aye, they don't need to sell.
Aye, but I understand.
They're never. Aye.
I understand why people would think, well, wait a minute, like, why can't you give up to something that's maybe bigger and better? I totally understand that thought, but the way I heard it, or the way I took it was, look how like figures, numbers, everything else. It's a far cry from when Berge came and saved us, and we were ready to be, no longer, no more. It's a far cry for that, and I took it as a like, look, the club's safe. We've got it in a good spot, and I'll be safe for until I'm 6 foot deep. That's how I took it.
What about you, Ross?
Listen,
You're not too fussed?
no, I can't disagree with Wally there. When he says that, I never really took it like anything, to be perfectly honest with you. It was a thing I heard, and I was like, okay, fair enough. But Wally makes a good point there. I don't think it's ever going to be at a point where they have to sell because, well, Dermot Desmond is a billionaire, so he's never going to have to do that. At some point, Celtic they'll be possibly taken over by a consortium, a Saudi one or something like that. Possibly. I don't see it happening, to be perfectly honest with you. Would I be against it if it did?
Yeah.
I don't know. If something like that did take over Celtic, I'd find it very difficult for that to happen, because why would they plough all this money in to the club to win the league title in Scotland? And listen, I don't know how much money we would have, whether we could challenge for the Champions League, but if we're going to challenge for the Champions League, we'd have to create a team like the level of Manchester City, and that is never going to happen playing in Scotland. And I think we would have even less chance of getting into the English Premier League, were we backed by the kind of money that Man City or a Newcastle are going to be backed by, because they don't want us in that league already, because they know that they don't want to admit it. They wouldn't say it out loud, but they know that if Celtic, even Rangers, were in that league getting the money they got for a period of time, then teams who are Big Six clubs right now would be pushed out and would no longer be Big Six clubs. And if then Celtic had that sort of money behind them, there's absolutely no way that they're going to be allowed to go down there. So for me, it doesn't make sense for a consortium with that type of money to buy Celtic where they're playing right now, because there's no benefit for them, because they wouldn't be able to build. It would be highly unlikely they'd be able to build a team strong enough to win the Champions League, and that's what these guys are in it for, to win the Champions League, make a massive name for themselves, and they won't do that playing in Scotland. So I don't see that ever happening. Dermot Desmond and his laddie at some point will no longer be part of Celtic, because nothing lasts forever. But I don't buy into that comparison of the Kellys. I know words like custodian and that is not great, but like Willie said, they're not took us to a point where the Kellys did, where we are not going to be no longer, and we're in absolute desperation, it's getting saved at the 11th hour. That's not going to happen. And we're in a really, really good financial footing. And somebody else might come in. Listen, you don't know what's going to happen down the line. Things change. Do you know what I mean? Celtic went through that in the 90s. Then Rangers were flying high and doing what they shouldn't have been doing. And look where they ended up. I'm not saying I don't want Celtic to spend money, but somebody could come in, like a David Murray, like a Craig White, with all the best intentions, but then you can do your due diligence, and then the guy gets in, and then he could fuck Celtic. Do you know what I mean? It could be great for a wee while, and you're going, look, this guy's spending this, he's spending that, and it's great, and we're doing this, and then bang, some shit hits the fan, and you're done for. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's the better the devil you know. I don't know. I think it was just like Willie says. I think it's more like we are okay. We've got these kind of thing. And listen, it's no. Maybe that's not the right. Maybe they are saying that, but they haven't got us as such in a lot of fans' eyes. But they aren't letting us down massively either, because we are okay and we're doing as well as we can do domestically. We can do a bit better in the on the European stage. How much better, I don't know, but I do concede that we could be doing better at that level.
See with the stuff with that as well. Say for example, somebody came in and fired. I don't know if you've watched the Corvo, our regular Corvo. Thanks again, as
Yep,
usual.
the
For
Newcastle man,
the
Corvo.
Newcastle. I don't know if you've watched their Amazon documentary, but
No.
like you can't see if somebody came into our club, they couldn't just go, right, there's $1 billion, just sign who you want, because there's fair play regularities where you need to make X amount to spend X amount, and these clubs are a massive attraction because Premier League, they get hundreds of millions a year TV revenue and all the rest of that. We don't get any. We don't get any. We've touched on. We've had full podcasts talking about TV revenue and all the rest, sponsorships and all the rest that come in. We're on a different, not even a different planet, a different universe for these clubs. So even if we did get somebody like that in, we couldn't spend the money because we wouldn't be able to qualify for the Champions League because we'd be banned for it because we would have failed the FIFA fair play rules and the rest of it. I would advise you, if you're interested in that sort of thing, to watch that Newcastle documentary.
What's it called? Just
Newcastle. Corvo, I'll tell you. But it's that's what the cameras in the boardrooms when they're talking about this sort of stuff, and obviously they're like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're like the richest owners of football.
They are meant to be.
At the moment in time. But that's the reason Eddie Howe hasn't bought like Mbappe and whoever else in the last couple of seasons, because they need to make a certain amount with regards to TV revenue and sponsorships and all the rest of it, which I think that's how Man City get away with it, because they've got so many other companies that sponsor them. They can spend X amount of money. So even if Celtic had fucking hundreds of billions in the bank, we probably couldn't spend it anyway, because we can't bring in enough because of the situation we're in.
Well, can I ask you a question? Oh, right, okay. So like the wee Wrexham stuff, right? No, that's grand. I'll give that a go. So I like all the boardroom stuff. But I've seen a lot of backlash with Chris Mackay. Actually, all of them referencing what happened at Everton in a kind of way to spook the support, and we can't do this because this might happen to us. I fought, for me, again, why we're bringing Everton into totally different scales. We're in the green, so to speak. They're in the red, like they're like done financially at the moment. But did you read much into them comments, or do you think that was a throwaway, this gimmick to be like try and spook the support in a way and be like, this is why we can't do a certain thing?
I didn't see them, to be honest with you. That's the first I've heard of that, mate. But if that's the case, I would imagine so. Like, for me, and like even the night, I've felt myself getting a bit frustrated because I feel like you try to explain things, and I've tried to go around certain points several different ways, and people still come back at me and say, well, it's just that and the next thing. So for me, it probably is them just trying to explain it in a different way, that it's not as easy as just like, there's a profits, that means that's what we've got to spend. To be fair, it sounds like a horrible comparison if that was the case.
It is. It's a horrible comparison.
I don't understand why that was mentioned. It's maybe just it's probably just a pop. They've probably read, like the rest of us have, countless things on social media, and they've probably heard it all at the AGM, getting absolutely battered about not spending 70 odd million on players. And that's his kind of comeback to say, well, look, we were nearly dead however many years ago, and look how good a position we're in now. And I understand it, but if that's the comparison he's made, then I think he's way off, to be honest.
Yeah. Did you see them, Ross? Did you see them comments?
I never seen them making them, but in fact, I tell you, I did. That was on the YouTube thing.
It was on the YouTube one. Yeah.
Aye. I did see it. I kind of. I just gave an eye roll there. I thought that's a pretty poor comparison.
That was poor.
Everton were. It just didn't add up. It was poor, but I don't know, man.
I do want to say one thing to everyone. Look, I've had a great podcast so far, so cheers everyone who's sticking with us. and get involved in the comments. It's been brilliant. We all love a bit of a debate, especially the Friday group. We always get into it. But like, I don't know if you know this, but Celtic are actually playing tomorrow, Ross, and we're playing Motherwell. Yes. So we are Motherwell. We're actually on we're we're on a good run until they actually met us the first time, and ever since that, I think they've won like 1 game in 5 or something like that under Cattlewell. Again, it's a home game. I think it's on TV, isn't it, tomorrow? Or is it not? I think it is. It's not, is it?
It's 3 o'clock. It'll be on my telly. It'll be on my
telly. Damn it. I'm gonna have to listen to the BBC Scotland. I don't do them dodgy boxes, lads. And you know,
come with mine, kid. Fine. Just get the ferry.
But back to domestic action, mate. It feels like a long time since we've been able to say this in the podcast, probably because we were off for 2 days last week. But what's that? The team's report plans. Yeah, no, I get that. Obviously, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But looking at the game itself, the international people coming back, I think it's probably a chance to give maybe Fringe players an opportunity to maybe a home to start, maybe Yang to start from the full 90 minutes, give Palma a rest because he was playing away in Mexico and countries like that.
Well, it's a sort of catch-22 for me. I don't know how you would go about it because obviously Palma and Maeda are both suspended for the Lazio game. Is that right?
No, Maeda's injured, but Palma's suspended for the Lazio game.
Maeda's suspended as well. He gets sent off.
Well, he's injured anyway. Maeda's out.
He's injured anyway. So they two aren't available for midweek. So I didn't realise Maeda was injured. So he's not going to play anyway. So I expect Yang to play and I expect Palma to play, absolutely. In terms of other positions in the park, you could look at it and go, the guys be wearing international duty. Do you just want to, get that cohesion again and play the guys that you're going to start in the game on Tuesday, or do you want to sort of conserve some energy for the guys? Personally, for me, I would probably go with my strongest team, and then try and get the game done as early as we can. I know, listen, it's not a given, but we go with our strongest team, get the game done, get 2 or 3 goals up, and take the guys off that you're looking to play on Tuesday night, and get maybe guys like Home, Turnbull, etc. on. For Mikey Johnson, fuck me, gives me palpitations. For me, I would go with, like I say, as a catch-22, it's whatever Brendan prefers. Personally, I would go with your strongest team, just to get that cohesion again and get the team playing. Do you know what I mean? I know it's only been 2 weeks, but just to get that sort of togetherness again and get the football flowing before we go into the Lazio game. Try and get the game won early doors and then go into the Lazio game. But then, sort of just contradicting myself because Palma can't play in that game, so that's a bloody catch. Listen, I would probably play Palma because you want to get the game won, and I think he's a very dangerous player. I don't think there'll be too many changes for what he expects to play against Lazio. But I think the changes that you will see will probably be the enforced ones, and that Maeda won't be there, Palma won't be there. I think that's about it. So I think he'll go with strongest team available, the Mora, and then he'll go with strongest team available on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. Before we come to the lineups, obviously, I want to throw a few things at you, Willie. Looking at the international people here, Way O'Reilly got his first start for Denmark, which was great over here in the north of Ireland.
And they got pumped.
He did get pumped right now, but I think he played well. Looking at the ratings, I didn't actually watch the game. I know Mikey Johnson and Scales featured for Ireland. I think Scales started against Holland, and a few Marco Tilio. He got on for the Australian under-21s, so he's coming back to fitness. And yeah, he come on for the last 20 or so minutes, and there was a few other international people kicking about. I think Yang was involved in the under-21s for Korea, pick players like that, and home as well. So that they were all involved in match action. Like looking at the Motherwell game, it's probably way out there, but because Palma's unavailable for the European game, yet is injured, would you throw the likes of Attilio in to see what he's like from the off? Or a Yang to start, give these guys a rest, at home to come in, Bernardo to start? Do you see any kind of changes from Brendan? You'd be like, I can see it.
Tilio, no, I don't think I'd put him in for the start. If he's fit and available, I would give him the last 20 minutes. I'm sort of edging on Ross's side, where I would play a strong team and then, hopefully the game's wrapped up with half an hour to go, and then we've got plenty of changes. It's not like the old days where you only got 3 subs and a 5-man bench. It's plenty of changes, but it's interesting. I never actually thought about it, because as much as we rant and rave about how the depth on the wings is fantastic, on Tuesday night we're looking pretty short now, with the likes of Palma suspended, Maeda's out, Abada's injured. It looks to me, just as you were discussing that there, I never even gave it a second thought, because I totally forgot about Palma. Ross was bang on about Palma there, being suspended, and the other injuries we've got. It's looking like James Forrest is going to end up having to get a start. So
yeah,
if that's the case,
scored in Rome before.
I did. If that's the case, I'd be looking to get as many minutes as possible into him on Saturday. Saying that, I think when he's came on this season, I think he's looked pretty sharp. People might disagree. I think he's looked good. So I would have no qualms with him starting. My biggest worry at this moment in time is how's Kyogo doing after getting knocked the fuck out.
Do you think that should have been a red card, Billy?
No. I think it's a sore one, and it's late. But I think the ball was there to be won, and I think it was the right decision personally. But saying that, it was a fucking sore one. He was not clean out before he even hit the deck. So, but that'll be interesting to see if he's ready to go on Saturday. I'm assuming he will be, because he's had a break. That would be my biggest worry for. I know I don't want to talk too much about Tuesday night, because there's going to be another podcast on Monday focusing on that.
Champions League football, baby.
That would be my biggest worry for Tuesday. I would have no qualms about James Forrest starting. I still think he's got the legs in him. I still think he can do the business. Yang, if he turns it on like he has in spots and like he did against Aberdeen, again, no qualms. But pardon me, Palma will be a big miss. Hatati's still out, isn't he? He's going to be out.
He's out. New Year.
Fucking hell. See, to be fair, as much as this team has got some shit this year, we've been shit out of luck with injuries. The centre halves we brought in getting injured. Abada's out. We've been shit out of luck. But yeah, I'm with Ross. I would go with the strongest team. I would go with a team.
Give me your lineup and score prediction now, then.
That he's looking at for Tuesday. I can't think now. It's been that long since I've been on, and it's been that long since we've had a game. I don't think there'll be big changes other than the ones that are forced upon us. I think the only one that's debatable is, I think there's only a couple of positions that are available. If the people that are available, if that makes sense. I think it'll probably be Hart, Johnston. Although I know Roger said that there's a few of the players aren't going to be back till like tonight, and they'll be like the likes of Ali Johnston and all the rest of it. They came back really late. Palmer's another one, so he might just decide not to go with him and bring him on at half time or whatnot. But I think he'll go with what he wants to go with on Tuesday night. And I think the backline speaks for itself. Johnston, Taylor, CCV and Scales in the middle. Kalmak and Aurelia will definitely play for me. And I think this other positions up for 3. I think he could play. He could play Bernardo, Home, or Turnbull. I personally play Home. I really like what I've seen from Home. I think he can do the stuff going forward. Like we've seen, his footwork was brilliant for O's winner against St Mirren in the latter third of the park. But I think he's also got tenacity and he gets stuck in the middle of the park as well. I think he's a great box-to-box player, and I'd like to see more of him. So for me, if it was a choice between the 3 personally, I would go with him. But I wouldn't be surprised if he went with either Turnbull or Bernardo as well. All 3 of them have kind of had spells in the team. I don't think he's got a favourite amongst the 3. I don't think Brendan knows himself who he prefers out the 3. So I would go with Home, and if Kyogo's fit, I'll also go with him. I wouldn't be adverse to starting O. I think he's shown a lot in the time that he's had recently. But again, I would want us to go with a team that we're playing Lazio, and I think obviously if he's fit, he's going to start. And I would go personally with Forrest and Yang on the wings and get minutes into them and see what they're going to do on Tuesday. I was going to say Tuesday night. It's pretty much Tuesday after fucking noon because we're the early kickoff. But yeah,
is it early
6 o'clock?
Aye, it's quarter to 6. Aye,
fuck.
Quarter to 6, man.
Sake.
Sake. You'll hate to forget the home one on Tuesday, Ross, and come here for 5 o'clock.
He's doing an independent review.
I think especially if we're just off the back of an international game, I think he'll want to try and get the team for Tuesday out and get them working as a unit as much as possible on the training field, but also on the game. So that's what I think he'll go with. I think it'll be 3-1. No, 3-0. Well, they were passionate. They were good. So if this was like 2 months ago, I'd be saying this has got to be a bit tougher. I still expect us to win, but they've been on a poor run. So I fully expect us to go out. Hopefully we do what we did against Aberdeen and just absolutely destroy them.
I think the most ironic thing about that, we ended the run the first time around. But Ross, coming to yourself to kind of round off the podcast, line up the score prediction, buddy.
Back 5 picks itself. Hart, Johnston, Carter Vickers, Scales, Taylor. Midfield 3. I did say it just a couple of minutes ago I would go with our strongest available team. And it would be because it would be the team I would play on Tuesday night. But then I realised that I was talking absolute pish and that Palmer couldn't play. So I would probably go. I would go with the team that I expect to play on Tuesday, probably, or that I would play on Tuesday. And I would go with Iwata, McGregor, and O'Reilly, and it would be a front 3 of Yang, Forrest, and Kyogo.
Decent score prediction.
4-0.
I love the fact you always put Iwata in your team. I respect that. I like Iwata as well. I want to see him get more game time. But Willie, will you do me a favour?
Mm-hmm.
Can you turn off your comments, please?
Aye.
We're going to reintroduce a wee quiz to end this podcast.
Oh dear.
Off between Ross and Willie. We used to do this in the regular. We'll just bring it back here just for a bit of a laugh. 5 questions. First to 3 gets it, or whoever answers the most in the 5 question wins. Are you ready?
Yep.
Now again, this is just football in general. I didn't go around the Celtic history books to find all these kind of stats and that. So, question number 1. Someone had, by the way, if you know the answer, shout out or go bzzz.
Just shout your name. Shout your name.
Tony's sitting at home raging, eh?
Shout your name or shout the answer. I know, eh? Shout your name or shout
the answer. Let's shout the answer.
Shout the answer.
Question number 1. Now, you have to let me read the whole thing. Manchester United beat which team in the 2017 Europa League final? Villarreal, Chelsea, Ajax, or Borussia Dortmund?
Ajax.
Have to go. Ross,
Villarreal.
I can't
you
think.
are. Let's see. You're correct.
Who?
Villarreal.
Well
Hold
done.
on. You are Ross.
No.
It was Ajax. Sorry. Well, you're right. It's
Aye, I
Ajax.
thought it was.
Oh, was Ajax? Well,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
didn't
So
think it was Villarreal.
1-0 to Willie. Right. 1-0 to Willie. Question number 2. Gareth Bale's breakthrough moment came in the 2010-11 season when he scored a second half hat trick against which team? Inter
Inter
Milan.
Inter Milan.
Ross got that. 1 each.
Very fuck.
Question number 3. Which team, why this would be a sore one for us Celtic fans, which team did Porto beat in the 2004 Champions League final? Bayern Munich,
Monaco.
Monaco. Oh, it was Wally.
Willie 2-1. What question number 4? Question 4. It is question 4, isn't it?
I
It is?
hope you're not
Aye.
charging the New Year quiz, by the way.
Right, hold on. Question. Fuck off, Willie.
Oh, I
Question. Question 4. Which Serbian team scored, beat Marseille in penalties to secure the 1991 European Cup? Slavia Prague, Red Star Belgrade, Galatasaray, or
Red Star
Spartak
Belgrade.
Trnavia?
Yeah, I would have went Red Star.
Let's see, question 15. Yeah, 2 each then. Right, let's see. This is the final question. Hold on, I need to make it hard for you.
That's what she said.
Question. I know. Question number 5. In 2011, a fifth-tier match in Argentina saw a record number of red cards. How many were given out? 6,
7.
11, 22, or 36?
11.
6.
Right,
Oh,
you're going for
22.
6, Ross. Willie for 11. Let's
11.
see. 36.
Fuck off.
I'm
36.
serious. That's the answer.
Send off half the crowd.
I'm
Fuck's sake.
serious what it says there, right?
That
Question
sounds like
number.
one of the Green Brigade.
We'll go. We'll go to the end here, right?
Send
Question
off
number
36.
6. Which team has won the African Cup of Nations a record 7 times? Cameroon,
Nigeria.
Egypt, Senegal, or Ghana?
Cameroon.
Ghana.
Right. Let's see.
No, Egypt.
It's Egypt.
Come on, like-
You've both
Oh,
got
for
that wrong.
fuck's
sake.
Hold on. Now, come on here. Fuck's sake. I need to find another question.
You can tell.
Right.
You can tell we've not had a podcast for a week and a half. We're here for fucking 4
Okay.
days.
Question number 7. Jamie Vardy was signed by Leicester from which non-league side?
Fleetwood Town.
Port Vale.
Fleetwood Town.
What did you go for, Willie?
Fleetwood Town.
And he gets it. Fantastic answer.
Ah.
Fantastic
Well
answer.
done.
Put the comments back on quickly and see if anyone was chirping in there. But look, lads, this brings it to the end of the podcast. If you enjoyed this one,
Aye, it was alright.
Um,
Nah, it was good. I'm not joking.
what about yourself, Willie?
That was alright, man.
Ah, thanks for that. I had good fun. I had good
No,
fun.
it was good,
Um,
mate. It was good, mate. I enjoyed it as usual.
Good.
I enjoy the debate. The chat was going off tonight as well with lots of different opinions, which we love.
Unbelievable. And we will be. Go ahead, Willie.
No, sorry, that's me done.
I was going to say, we'll be back Monday again to look ahead to the Champions League game and talk. Hopefully, a great result against Motherwell. But until then, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.